Greetings everyone, my name is Greg. In this video I am going to be talking about the series of interviews that I'm doing with Mark Powers, the expert on Judaism, and why I'm doing that. For all of you, because I know some of the subscribers that I've gotten are most likely Jewish and that they're interested in those interviews, and that's great. I'm glad that, and I hope they enjoyed the series. But the reason that I'm doing it, and the reason that it came to my mind to interview someone that is an expert on Judaism, is to give ammunition to the atheists regarding Christianity. Because there are a lot of misconceptions that Christians have regarding the Old Testament, as they term it, or the Torah and Tanakh, where they want to try and hijack Judaism and make it out that what their religion is about is really a continuation of Judaism, when it isn't. Where Christianity is far more based on Zoroastrianism than it is Judaism. Because, like was mentioned by Mark in the first interview, the idea of the devil, Satan, being a negative figure, not in Judaism. He's a good guy. Because his role is as an adversary. Not, in a sense, in the adversary to God, per se, or the God figure of the Bible, but rather that that's the role that the God intended for that character or that being to have. Now, I don't believe for a second that the God exists or that this devil or whatnot exists, but it doesn't matter. Based on Judaism, based on the Torah and Tanakh, there is no, you have to make a choice between a God and a Satan. No, because the Satan is the agent of the God. There's no choice to be made. The idea that you have to make a choice between two means it's not a monotheism. It is a polytheism. There are multiple deities. There have to be at least two in order for you to make a choice, because without two, you have nothing to choose from. And with Christianity, it goes even beyond two, because just in the Trinity concept, which is a crock of shit, you have three, even though the character of Jesus didn't even fulfill the criteria for Messiah, let alone proving that he's a deity. But something else that is mentioned frequently by Christians is the miracles and the virgin birth thing, which is one of the things in the third interview where we were going into some of the so-called prophecies in Isaiah about Jesus, and they're not about Jesus. The term Alma, what is translated as virgin, is not virgin in the Hebrew. There is a different word in Hebrew for a virgin. Alma, and Alma is a young woman. It does not have any bearing on her sexual experience. So for Christians to try and say that that spot in Isaiah 7 is talking about Jesus and so forth, it's not. Because it's not a virgin birth. It is a young woman giving birth to a child. But the child that was given birth to became king. Jesus was not a king. He did not rule anything. So in that regard, that subject, that historical account, doesn't relate to him. Christians are trying to play games to act as if their Jesus fits some aspect with the Jewish beliefs, and it doesn't. Just like the aspect, and we're going to get more into the criteria, what the Messiah was supposed to achieve. And like has been mentioned, that everything is to be fulfilled in one lifetime, that there is no installment plan for Messiah with Judaism. But the reason for all of this is largely to give ammunition to the atheists against when dealing with Christians. Now, there could be some Christians that would hear these interviews and realize Christianity is a house of cards, Christianity is bullshit, and that they would want to then, because they have this belief in a God, be, okay, I guess I should look at Judaism. Fine, I don't care. That I recognize it could happen. It could go that way for some. I'm not opposed to it, because I'm not about trying to say what you or anyone has to believe. What you believe is your choice. All I am about is presenting information, giving Mark, and basically an expert on Judaism, a platform by which they can get out the truth regarding Judaism and regarding their book. Because if Christians want to try and tout the Old Testament and say it's theirs, it's not. It never was. It never will be. It's not your book, Christians. It's Jewish. And to try and say that, like I've seen some posts on YouTube regarding the 10 Commandments that God gave them knowing you couldn't keep them. And I had said to these people, are you saying you can't not kill? How are you not in jail? Or are you saying you can't not lie? Then why should I believe anything you say if you're just a constant fucking liar? The idea that these commandments were given knowing you couldn't fulfill them, then why give them? What, to show you need a scapegoat? That's not even in the Torah or Tanakh. There's not one reference to that, Christians. So I recognize that where they're getting that idea is Paul. But let's think about Paul for a second. Paul was very much against Judaism. Very much so. And if you want to hijack someone that, like the figure of Jesus, even assuming he did exist, he would have been Jewish. If you are someone like Paul and you want to hijack a figure like Jesus and make it about you instead of them, then wouldn't you come up with some wacky, oh yes, I was struck down on the road to Damascus, and give this bullshit account so that people listen to you as an authority for this Jesus figure, but what you're saying goes completely against what the figure of Jesus is reported to have said and taught. And in what is written from Paul, there is not one teaching of Jesus. There's not, even though miracles don't mean a damn thing, there's not one of those. There's nothing from what the character of Jesus or the figure of Jesus had done or said in his life, supposedly, mentioned by Paul. So it's the ideas people have regarding Christianity, the idea of you are saved by grace and faith. That's not what Jesus taught. He taught you're judged by your works. It's what you do that matters, not what you say. Because that goes in line with what is mentioned with Judaism. That if you would break one of the laws type of thing, You want to be forgiven? Change your behavior. You have to stop doing what you did. Change your behavior and obey the law. There's no need for a scapegoat. Not to mention, the idea that you can pay for something before you do it. It's like saying, here's $100 for the slap in the face I'm going to give you. It doesn't show that I am sorry about doing it. What it actually shows is I'm trying to buy my way out of it beforehand. It is an insult. And that is Christianity. It is an insult. If there would be a God, the idea of Jesus paying the price for your dumbass is an insult to the God, because it's not showing where you've changed at all. It's not showing where you've learned a fucking thing. All it's showing is you're wanting an easy out. If a God would exist that would be interested in us learning and growing, then Christianity would be the biggest abomination to it that could exist. That if such a God would exist, it would have to regard the atheist as at least respectable. Because at least the atheist is saying, I don't believe you. I don't see enough evidence. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be trying to blow smoke up your ass or anyone's ass to be, I'm forgiven because I think something. So what? If you're acting like an asshole, what you think, the beliefs you have, the faith you have, it doesn't matter. It doesn't show where you are right. But there's also the idea, and I recognize with Mark that there is some areas where him and I are going to be more at odds, especially with the idea of the God being anything that the God says is right because he said it. That is a might makes right philosophy. That does not show what is really moral or good. Morality is a social construct. It is something that we as a society determine. And it does change over time. Because you can look back at human history, even back during like World War II, the racism and prejudice was a lot more rampant. And it was a lot more acceptable socially. So you had a lot more of that in the society. The thing is, we have evolved, we have changed socially. It is not one person that is saying that this has to change. It is rather a collective, as a society, we are saying this change has to happen. And the changes are gradual, just like evolution is. But it's a lot faster than the biological evolution. This is a cultural, sociological evolution. The thing is, it is still an evolution. And it is all a part of basic empathy. If you can't empathize with someone else, you will have problems with social interaction, as well as with morals and ethics. Because morals do come down to the social agreements that we have with each other. It's not based on does some dictator or divine dictator, be the dictator a Hitler, a Stalin, a Genghis Khan, or a Kim Jong-un. If you have someone decreeing something, that doesn't make what they're saying right just because they say it. That is obnoxious. The thing is, what people do based on the belief systems that they have will really reflect if the belief system is good or bad. Because how does it impact others? The way it, in a sense, would impact your life is kind of a so what. It is not so much about how it affects or impacts your own life, but rather how, because of what you believe, how are you treating other people? And if how you're treating other people is piss poor, or that you're acting like an asshole because of your belief system's fucked up. Now, I was talking to a guy from Teen Challenge because it was outside my job the other day, and I had looked at him and said, I told him straight up I'm an atheist. But I said to him, could you believe in invisible magical pixies if someone threatened you with torture if you don't? And he said, no, I couldn't. And I was, why not? And he was, because there's no reason, there's no evidence that they exist. There's no reason. That's the exact reason I don't believe in your God. And then he tried going to how did humans get here? And I had said that was evolution. And he tried going to how did the planet get here and so forth. And that's not evolution, that's cosmology. But that happened about 4.6 billion years ago. That the Earth formed because of gravitational and asteroids hitting and so forth. And he tried saying about the first life, and that's not evolution either, that's abiogenesis. But that deals with, and I had mentioned one idea mentioned by scientists is that life could have been seeded here by asteroids, impacting the planet and introducing single-cell life and so forth. And what he really tried getting at with me was science doesn't know. And I was, well, no, there's questions. We're not totally 100% sure. And he tried saying about how acting like he did know. And I was, if you know, then what's the basis of your knowledge? And he tried going to the Bible, and that's not evidence. That doesn't prove anything. That's an argument from ignorance. If you're trying to say that we don't know the answer to this, so that means God did it, that's an argument from ignorance. That is a logical fallacy. It doesn't work. There are so many things with the religious that they will try to use logical fallacies and things of that nature, that it needs to be made clear to them that these things don't work and why they don't work. And that's part of what I want to bring about with the interviews with Mark, because there's a lot of unknowns and things that Christians believe that does conflict with Judaism, especially the idea of like the miracles of Jesus being evidence of something. It's not. Miracles are not evidence of anything. That is not just from the atheist position, that's from the Jewish position as well. And that is one of the things, and one of the big things that I want to draw everyone's attention to. Because Christians try using this idea of the miracles of Jesus and his supposedly being resurrected from the dead. It's irrelevant. It doesn't prove anything. It doesn't make him a Messiah. It doesn't make him anything. And that is the best they have, are these claims of miracles. And it's empty. And what the big thing that I want to achieve with the interviews and so forth, beyond the educating myself and hopefully being able to educate you on the different things with Judaism that you may not know. Because Jews aren't going out trying to convert you. Because as Mark has said to me, doesn't matter if you believe that there is no reason to, in a sense, convert to Judaism or believe Judaism. It doesn't matter. That there is no hell. There is nothing that's going to happen to you if you don't believe a certain way. Okay, fine. I have no problem with that. The God that Mark is talking about, I don't believe it exists, but I would be open to evidence of its existence. And I can tell you guys now, it would take a lot more than what is supposedly written in a book. It would take actual scientific evidence, something tangible that we can examine, that we can study, that we can say, okay, this is valid. But I honestly am not holding my breath for that. But I do feel that there is a lot that can be gained by a better understanding or a deeper understanding of the Old Testament, as Christians term it, or the Torah and Tanakh, from a Jewish point of view. Especially all of the places where the translation that we have in English is simply wrong. And it's intentionally wrong because of the agenda of the Christians that were wanting to have it say something that fits what they want. And those things are what I also want to point out. Because yes, it is partially rubbing the Christians' nose in the fact that they don't know their own Bible, let alone the Jewish Bible. And I've had a number of Christians get really pissed off at me for using the Bible even though I don't believe it. Because they'll act like, why do you quote the Bible if you don't believe it? I don't believe it, but apparently you do. And if you're going to quote it and you're going to act like you believe this is the perfect, inerrant, inspired Word of God, then the conflicts between the Torah and Tanakh and the New Testament, you really should be aware of that. Because that brings in a real big problem for you Bible literalists that want to try and act like every word of the Bible is breathed by God. Well then, Christians, you're fucked by your own fundamentalist belief system. The fact that you have the Torah and Tanakh in your Bible, you are fucked. And the series of interviews that I'm doing with Mark will firmly establish the fundamentalist Christians are fucked by their own belief system because they're trying to merge two religions that don't. That they are, the idea that there's the only difference between Judaism and Christianity is Jesus, that Christians believe in Jesus and Jews don't, that's horseshit. There are massive differences. The biggest being in Judaism, the devil is a good guy, according to Mark, that he's an agent of the God. He does what God wants. There is no choice between the two. And as Mark put it, that I thought was funny as hell, that the only way an angel can fall is if they trip. And that there's no evidence in the Bible, in the Torah or Tanakh, of an angel tripping. So there are no fallen angels. But things like this, I find it interesting. And I do like educating myself more on, even though I don't believe in the God, I do like to know more about Judaism and so forth, because it does give me more ammunition. It does make me better armed for dealing with the wacky Christians that want to go around threatening people. Because that's the big thing with this. If Christians wouldn't be threatening people with torture after they're dead for not believing something, I really wouldn't care as much. It is their own malevolent belief system that has caused the backlash at them to be so fervent. And it is something that Islam is no different. I'll put that out here real clear. Islam is no fucking different from Christianity. It is as much based on Zoroastrianism as Christianity, because it has you have to make a choice between, or that there is this battle of the opposites. No, that's not Jewish at all. That actually goes against what is in Isaiah chapter 45 verse 7. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. The idea of a devil being the figure of evil, no. It simply is not in the Torah and Tanakh. But these are things that I want more and more, and I'm sure there are things yet to come out in the interviews that we're going to be doing in the future that I'm not even aware of at this point, that I'll look at it and be cool, or wow, I didn't know that. And things like that, I like learning. Even if it is about a belief system that I don't believe in myself. Okay, fine. I still like learning, and I still want to know as much as I can about all of this, and be able to present this to you for you to make up your mind one way or the other. And I welcome the thoughts and comments in the comment section. Later, people.